Right, right. All right, here we are. Happy Thursday, Kojo.
Hey, how you doing, baby? You right? Happy Thursday, indeedy.
I'm good. I'm good. The coach. So, do you do coach? Do you do relationship coaching?
Yeah, a little bit on the side. Yeah. Do that a little bit as
Nice.
well. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So help
Okay.
where I can.
Yeah, I love it.
You
I
know.
love it. That would be. It would be hilarious to have. We may. I think my husband and I may need to sign up for a session. It's always good to keep it right. You never
That's
can
true.
get too, never can get
That's
too
very true.
relaxed.
That's very true. You ain't telling no lies. That one, you ain't true. How's your week been anyway?
It's been good. It's been good. It's been busy, but it's been good. So I'm looking forward to the weekend. I think I'm gonna treat myself tomorrow with going to see Janet Jackson.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's performing, isn't she?
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
She's here in
Okay.
Atlanta, and the she was supposed to be performing tonight, but the Hawks are actually in the playoffs.
As well playing. Yeah, they
Yeah.
had to move it away.
So that means that I may be actually able to take off tomorrow night and just go enjoy Janet Jackson. That's like she's my all time, all time. Can I tell you something? I
Mm,
literally I remember tryouts for our pom pom squad in high school, and I
mm.
had to make up a routine to try out for varsity in front of all the football players and the coaches. And my routine was to "Miss You Much" by Janet Jackson. I
Ooh.
made it. I
Okay.
made the squad.
You got through?
I got through.
Janet, that's what Janet be doing. They heard Janet and said,
Eh,
"We
yeah,
sold."
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. How's your week been? How's your week been?
Yeah, it's been really good. I know we're coming towards the end of the week now, and yeah, no, it's just been a good vibe, man. Today I had a little impromptu interview with Ayana from Lovers Blind as well, so that was really cool.
Okay.
So she came on from season 2, so
Yes.
she came on, yeah, she came onto the channel. So good conversation.
Congrats. I have to
But
go back
yeah,
and watch that. I like Love is Blind. I see that they are considering, I don't know if this is true or not, but the blogs are saying they're considering
changing.
replacing Nick and Vanessa with Cameron and what's the young lady's name?
Lauren.
Yes, Lauren. What do you think
Yeah.
about that? What do you think about that?
Well, they've actually. I think another article came out on ET Entertainment tonight, and they said they're not changing them. So,
Not changing
yeah. So even though the petitions were strong, they're not
it.
changing them. And personally, I don't really want Lauren and Cameron. I don't think they're going to be the type of host that you really want. You're
Right.
gonna have to ask some really tough questions.
Yeah.
It's not just good enough to be a nice personality. That being said, they may have another side I've never seen, so maybe they could. But I
Yeah.
personally don't want that. I think what people just really want was just Vanessa to be held accountable. That's just the reality of the
That's
situation.
it. Right. I
Do a
agree.
better job, Vanessa.
I agree. I think she got too caught. I think she got personally involved some kind of way,
Yeah.
and she was not objective. And I think you're right. I know she sent him flowers the next day, but we need a public accountability
Yep.
statement.
Say
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it would have been quick and easy been done.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she hasn't done so. So
Yeah.
it's
Well,
one of
I'm
those
gonna definitely
ones.
check that out because I'm a big fan and of Love Is Blind. Of course, you always get down to it, but you guys know why we're here. We're here to talk about Put a Ring on It, and I got some clips for us because I want to play this clip
There's
from
a lot
Dr.
going on.
because I never understand what is the purpose of having couples go on dates where they can see each other on the date with the other person. So this one was
Hey,
Double the Trouble. And this is the episode where the couples are going on dates and they're actually able to see their significant other on a date. And I just don't get why that's something that we should do. But this is Dr. Stacy's explanation of it. And then I want us to talk a little bit about that if you agree with her or not. Here we go.
Too. But you should not compare. Comparing means that you are comparing two individuals that may not have the same background to each other. So you want to make sure the comparing is not there. But it's nothing wrong with looking at people and saying, wow, I like that. I want to become that woman so that I can attract that man. Or, hey, I want to become that guy so that I can attract this type of woman. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But the comparing is where the problem is.
So I
I mean, I don't know if that answers the question in terms of why they're going on this. They did the same way. I mean, the same thing with Dr. Nicole. So I'm not even trying to hold it down to Dr. Stacey, but it's the same thing with Dr. Nicole when they have to do it as well. It's for drama. There's no that particular one. I don't see the vision behind having both people in the same room. As to that, just seeing that kind of stuff. Yeah, I personally don't see the need for it. To be honest, yeah,
I don't either. I think I
Definitely
agree.
not.
I think it's drama driven. And I don't know if there's a right or wrong way to act, when you see your
See
significant
your
other,
partner.
on a date. I do
Especially
think
what Catherine was doing. Catherine was overboard. I'm sorry.
Catherine was
Catherine was overboard.
and Zay, I thought Zay was kind of overboard as well. Like he went the other way with
Yeah, he went completely. He went. I'm shutting this down. I'm shutting this all down. It's Jasmine. It's not her. It's Jasmine. Just want to let you know.
put some respect on her name.
Look on her name. Girl was like,
Been like, okay, why are you on this? Why are you on this show? Like, it's ridiculous. Yeah. So, okay, start. Let's start with Ricky. Let's start with Ricky and Catherine because this kind of perpetuates what we were talking about last week. It's like people are just doing it. Catherine specifically, Marcus, I'm sure she's attracted to Marcus, but I think a lot of it is because she's upset with the way Ricky has made a connection with his date. So it's like, oh, well, I'm going to get you back. I'm going to, claim I'm super, super attracted and I'm going to go all the way out. But really it's about being vindictive. And so I felt like no matter what her date was doing, and he was doing the most, putting 10 on the 2, as I would call it. He was just laying it on super thick, but it wasn't even because it's not even about her and him. It's really about her trying to do something to get Ricky back.
Yes. And I think that's what I saw. Like, even with, well, Ricky's not going to break, Ricky's not sticking to boundaries. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to do the exact same thing. And I was like, okay, we'll see. But I think it's just the energy behind her motive. And then old boy was putting it on thick.
Was drowning in it.
Honestly, the PDA was a lot, even for somebody who is your, you know what I mean? Like, if that was your girl, I could understand, but it was certainly a lot. Man is smelling up neck.
Yeah.
He's licking a little bit of whatever it was off your chest area. He's hands all over your body, and it was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot in that situation. And I just think to myself, the fact that Catherine allowed it, I get it. You want to show him that you're desired. I just think to myself, you got to be very careful. This is the kind of stuff that scars and then people don't forget. So you may get over it now as a hump, but tomorrow it's a scar that is still waiting to be, as a wound that's not fully healed.
Yeah.
And I just thought to myself, this is a game you don't want to be playing. Like, if he was doing it, I would say the exact same thing. Him feeding the girl food is one thing, right? I think that's a level. You maybe not like that. That's fair. If he's feeding you food, I get it. But the step that she took to go extra just to prove a point, I was like, sis, you're going to prove a point and then some.
Yeah.
And you're going to realize you've gone too far,
Yeah. No, I agree. I think, like you said, there are certain things that you can do in the sake of getting back. But if you don't play fair, and that's something that last season, Dr. Nicole talked about that I really, really like, is how do you argue? And do you have a inclination to play dirty, right? And so if you play dirty and you're doing things that it's going to be hard to take back. If you guys do get, you do get to a better place, you've done enough stuff to cause additional damage to the problems that are already there. And so that's one of the problems that we see happening. Now, for me, it's interesting because I saw someone said that Catherine got her ring, that's what I guess that's been reported or something. But, that doesn't necessarily mean that things are all good. A lot of times
good, yep.
to prove that the show was not right or prove people wrong. But from what I'm looking at, the show that I'm watching, Ricky is really enjoying being able to be with a woman without all without all this this heaviness, right? Catherine is doing all this heavy lifting, and Ricky, when he's with his date, seems much more like a dating relationship. It seems like
Mm,
obligation, family, heaviness when it comes to Catherine. He's put a lot on her, and I don't know. I don't even know if he's put a lot on her or she's just shouldered a lot, right?
taking it on. Yeah.
Taking on a lot. But when he's on the date, when he's on these dates, because he's the only person that's consistently been seeing the same person, that to me says something. It speaks volumes. But you see a different Ricky. It almost is like he is.
It's
I
true.
think earlier he's like a breath of fresh air, but he is just like it's like he's born again. He's having a good time. He's lighter. When it's with Catherine, it's very serious. And so him saying that he wants to be able to miss her, he needs time. To me, those are just signs that this relationship has gotten to a point of it being more obligation and you being entwined in family to where I'm not choosing to be there. You're just there, you know.
There.
And I feel like we see the different side of him with his date. I also feel like, you know, like I keep saying every week, women, when you come in acting, she's not even acting as a wife. She's acting as a wife, mother, father, like family taxi. Like there's a lot happening there. That is not going to ensure him to be loyal or even him to love you. That's basically just things that you've taken on, and it's really dysfunctional. As much as I think she was playing up her date, I do think that she was able to see there are other people that she may have more in common with, because she obviously has a lot more. She doesn't have any children. She doesn't have any responsibilities. She's taken all this on just to try to have a relationship. And I think if she would just stop trying to get back at Ricky and actually enjoy herself, she may really enjoy the process and definitely enjoy getting to know other guys and give herself a little bit more perspective. But she's going into it with the goal of getting Ricky, hurting Ricky so that he will come back and be with her. And I think that's the problem.
Yeah, and I think you know what's really interesting about the situation is, you know, that Catherine, like I said, Catherine's taken on all those things. The reality is, you know, he doesn't need to ask her to take on those things. She'll just take it on, and
Right.
it's because she is trying to, she's trying to be seen. You
Right.
know, she's trying not to be invisible. So her sight or being seen or being heard comes through doing things. So
Yeah.
she's put herself in places where she's quote unquote valuable because she's doing something, right?
Mhm.
So being the stepmom, being a person who does a taxi, you know, being a person who's almost like behaving like a wife in the household, and you know, accepting the bare minimum because really and truly, she just wants to be seen. You know, she just wants to be seen, and actually, she's not talking about Ricky. She's actually, and that's why the cut scene for next week shows us she's talking about her first love, which is her dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's now being perpetrated onto Ricky. And as much as we know Ricky's doing, you know, not doing his part, the aspect is where she's filling in so much is
Yeah.
actually her own fault. It's actually she's trying to use those roles and positions to say, "Hey, look at me, I'm valuable." Right? And
Yeah.
once you see that she's valuable, what she should be doing, she has a silent expectation, which is ask me what I want.
Yeah.
And then she gets frustrated, annoyed when he doesn't do that
Mhm.
because she's expecting him to do it because she's doing what he wants. But if you don't ask, don't expect me to just do it. You know what
Right.
I mean? That's a silent expectation. So she needs to actually learn how to communicate and open her mouth and say, actually, this is what I want. This is what I need from the situation. And stop expecting it to be instinctual, that the person just knows exactly what you want. You know, even if you feel like you know what he wants as well, it doesn't work like that for everybody. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen that for myself.
I agree. I feel like the point you made about her father and her, I think there are a lot of women, and I talk about that in my book. A lot of women believe that they have to earn, right? Especially if like for myself, I grew up without my father. And so it was part of my behavior to try to do things in order to get love, right? That's how I felt like, okay, well, my dad's not around. Maybe I can convince him to love me by getting good grades. Maybe I can convince him to love me by being on the honor roll, by, getting awards at school, and then later getting a good job. I would always try to prove to my father that I was worthy of a relationship. For me, my father was on drugs, so there was nothing I could have done it wasn't about me, but that created patterns that I later translated to relationships with men. And I think a lot of women, if you ask women, we've heard this a lot on Ready to Love and a lot of the other shows, like, what makes you a good catch? It's about what I do. I'm a earner. I have property. I have a good job. I have degrees. I do this. It's about what I do. And I think that a lot of that means that you need to do some soul searching and figure out why you believe that you have to do something in order to receive love. Something in you does not feel like you are enough. And so being there for his family, proving that I'm a ride or die, all this stuff is really just a woman, a little girl inside saying, I just want you to love me, and I want to do everything I can to get that love. But love is really not transactional as much as we believe that it is, or we act like we believe it is, right? So you can do, especially when it comes to women and men, you can do all these different things but you're never going to be able to prove to a man that's not for you that you are enough. There's no boulder heavy enough to lift to make him see that. And so I personally had to do the work. And I think that's one of the things I empathize with a lot of women are like that. We see Catherine, and we're all like, being critical of her experience. But I think there are a lot of women that try to prove to men their worth by what they're able to shoulder, what they're able to help with. Oh, I can help you start a business. I'm a great entrepreneur. I can do this. And then we become bitter and resentful to him when our actions don't result in the relationship that we want. But he never presented those variables. You came in thinking that was the case. So I really hope that she gets that fixed, because like you said, it goes deeper than the relationship with Ricky. These are behavior patterns that she created a long time ago. Also, it kind of works against her in another way, because if you notice, Ricky is the only guy that is not jealous at all. She does so much for him. It's more of a parent-child type relationship. So he's like, oh, she's happy right now, and they're doing all that. That won't last long. Like, he's unbothered. Ricky is unbothered by the date. He is unbothered by the fact that Marcus is big and trying to show his size and being. Ricky don't care about any of that, because his relationship with Catherine is not one where he rises up and has tried to win her over. This is something that's been given to him, forced almost on him. Not that she's forced him, but she's doing all this stuff to prove it, to where he doesn't have any reason to do the same for her. And we see that he's not standing up when it comes to seeing her go out with other people. She's getting angry because she's not getting that response from him, but it's because of the way the dynamic was set up in the beginning.
Yeah, and you know what? He was concerned about the date, right? But the reality is, how he looked at it was, if I say I was concerned, I'm gonna lose some power here in this relationship. I'm gonna lose some control. The moment I say I was concerned is the moment you take advantage of me, right? And that may be PTSD from the past relationship, but that also probably means there's probably something a little bit deeper there, from past whatever childhood he's had as well, because we saw obviously that because the parents moved into the house, everything like that as well. But there's probably something much more deeper seated in terms of Ricky's behavior, because it's very passive at points. Yes. But the date, clearly he was frustrated. Mm-hmm. But then when it came to Dr. Stacy and asking him, so how do you feel about it? I was good.
Yeah.
I was cool. Yeah. I was like, and we're like, bro, but the camera's telling us you weren't good. Like, bro, you was pressed. You couldn't even bowl your ball. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you look pressed. And so it's like, at that point, why hold back how you actually feel? And it's because the way you're seeing your vulnerability is you're seeing it as a weakness. Yeah. You're seeing it as something that could be taken advantage of. You're seeing it as something that can hurt you if you admit how you actually feel in this moment. But it's actually the very thing that's pushing you away from Catherine too. And you have so much security in the fact that you have 10 years together as a friendship that you're using that as a complacency tool. And so now you're complacent because you're saying, well, we have 10 years, so we're good.
Yeah.
Like it'll hold. I mean, if she leaves, she won't leave. We've been here for 10 years.
Yeah.
Why would she leave? We have known her for 10 years. Why would she leave? And the reality is that complacency is ugly. It's unattractive, and it makes the other person feel like, and I'm not saying you want to feel like you're going to lose a person, but you don't want to be in a place where you forget almost about the value of the person that you're in a relationship with. It's just a flick, it's an everyday thing, and that's not how the person wants to feel.
Right.
So for him, I think he really needs to sit down, get deeper. I need Doctor to get into his ass the same way she got into Dunbar's ass, because there's something deeper there with Ricky that needs to be unearthed in terms of why you are doing what you're doing, why you can't be vulnerable, in those spaces.
Right.
But you know what? He has had some progress in terms of saying he was going to date.
Yeah.
At first he couldn't say it. Now he was confident. Yeah, I want to go on a date. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, you know what? Another thing I thought was interesting was the date, and Shelly, right? It's the date's name. I thought it was interesting. She said, well, he's going to keep on. He's going to catch feelings. I feel like that statement, number one, that she's a confident woman, which is a beautiful thing. But number two, I feel like she can feel that energy from him, as a woman and anyone, a man as well. If you're out on a date with someone and if someone is open to you, or you could feel that. So I feel like when she made that statement about the fact that this is number 3, and she wasn't concerned about herself, she was concerned about him. There's something in Ricky, like you said, it's almost like a contradiction working, because we know that he's been very passive and very vulnerable with X that he was taken advantage of with. The situation with Catherine, he still is not really in control of this situation. And here is this girl saying, hey, he's going to end up getting caught up. He's got feelings, he may need to slow down. And I thought that was telling, because I know that someone mentioned that the lady went on another Kamisha Reviews, I believe, and said that she could have Ricky if she wanted. I don't know if she could have him if she wanted or not, but I think that she definitely sees the fact that there is a vulnerability there that he works really hard to cover up. And that has to be, he's just going to have to go to counseling or do some internal work to learn how to balance out. There's nothing wrong with being vulnerable, but when you are presenting yourself at a point where you're standing up as a victim, that's a problem. But I just thought that was kind of interesting for her to say that, because as a woman, you go out with men, and somebody that's really into you or somebody that's a little bit weak for you, you can feel those vibes. And I think that the date felt those vibes. She's also opposite of Catherine. It's interesting. The red hair is the extent of their commonalities, right? And it's not even the same red. But I think it's interesting that she felt that confident to say that. I don't think that was coming from her just being braggadocious. I think that she sees that Ricky is really unhappy, and she sees that he's really happy when they're on the dates. And even for him to continue to make that choice when no one else is doing that, consistently dating all the way through. And also it's clear that it's bothering Catherine. There's something else there that she's picking up on.
Yeah. And I definitely hear that. So I think, his dates with is it Sherry as well? You're absolutely right. You said it earlier on that he does have a much more lighter disposition, a much more free in disposition. He's not so weighed down with expectation. There's no cloud over him. He seems to be able to be a bit more vibrant as well. And actually, similar enough, same way with his ex as well. There's a little bit more. There was a little bit more energy.
There was
banterous energy, right?
Yeah, it was. Romantic.
And
you don't get that.
Romantic energy. Yeah, we don't get that necessarily with Catherine. In fact, and I noticed a change too. Maybe not saying a change, but even this episode, the way that Catherine was holding his arm today. I was like, baby girl, you're gonna have to release that arm eventually. Like, that's the smothering that you did. And I'm not saying she's a bad one for it. I'm saying that, this is what he's been talking about, but he needs to be able to express this as well in a way that doesn't make it so that I don't like you. It's more of a case of, I need you to do what you're doing. But here's my thing. The moment he gives her and tells her to have space, this girl is going to fly and she will not look back at him again.
You think so?
Like, I absolutely believe so. Because her level is going to shift. I do not believe his level is her level. Not because I feel like she's not that he's not a great guy, but
Mm-mm.
I believe that he's actually holding her back.
I agree with that.
Because the moment she taps into her real estate, the moment she taps into these things, the confidence she's going to receive, but when she starts achieving her goals, is
Hmm.
going to leave. He's going to pay him dust.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean?
I agree. I just think that there's something in her. There's something in her self-esteem that's blocking that, right? There's
Yes.
something about her that makes her feel like I have to do all these things to get a guy. So in order for her to get to the point where she realizes I don't have to. I mean, I cannot imagine having no children and taking care of his children and his family. That's ridiculous. It's preposterous, ludicrous, as Ludacris would say. That's ludicrous. Um, so the fact that she's doing that means there's something in her sense of self that
Hmm.
suggests that her value is tied to her taking on. Once she taps into that, you're right. Once she taps into that and realizes you don't have to be burdened down. Not saying that someone's children and family are a burden, but you guys are unequally yoked. And if you're there, you need to have chosen to be there, not to choose that because you feel like that's an easy road to love. Like that's not right. So I do think that she would be gone once she gets that lesson, but I feel like that lesson involves her doing a lot of self-work to figure out why she's making those choices. And I think a lot of times it just has to do with how you view yourself. If you don't feel like you're enough, that's a lot. That's some heavy work to do to get yourself to a better place. But hopefully this show will lead them there. Um, let's move on to the
Hmm.
some interesting things that happen. I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave Joya and Jaisha till the end because Joya's date. I didn't know if it was a reincarnation of Kevin Sam. I don't know what happened, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But Zay and his date and him saying put some respect on his lady's name and that whole thing. What was interesting to me about this situation is he really he really was the one that seemed like she was constantly asking for him to stand up for her. He never he won't stand up for her with his friends and in the situation, but when he goes on a date and all the girl said was she's back there, it all of a sudden his Superman, I mean his protector, kicked in, and I'm like, it was the wrong moment for that, which was weird. But he just came off as very protective, very guarded, almost almost defensive when it wasn't necessary.
Hmm.
The girl just liked him. So I'm wondering, Kojo, why do you think all of this came out here? And that's really what his girlfriend has been requesting for him
Wanting.
to do with other people. Like, I really feel like even with him watching her on a date, because I don't feel like her date was her type. They're very different. I
Yeah,
think
very different.
they're very, very
Very
different.
different.
I don't I think that she's kind of like
Just
uh
enjoying the time.
yeah, Sean. I think that he was someone that was giving her attention and she enjoyed it, but I don't think that she's really into him. Totally different. But Zay was going crazy watching her. And so I almost feel like, I feel like he's the guy that wasn't ready, that likes to party, but now that he sees his world compromised, he's going bananas. you know, he couldn't stop. He was damn near sweating watching the two of them on the date. And there was no PDA. He was just being, I think he put chapstick on and was doing, but
That was about it.
it
Hmm.
wasn't like there was nothing that was causing him. That was clearly his conscience to me kicking in, saying you haven't been doing the right thing. You really care about this girl. You really love this girl, and you're playing around, and she may be taken. And that's what was happening. It was almost like his own conscience, him fighting himself because she wasn't
Mm.
doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, they literally were just talking. Like,
Right.
literally were just talking. Like, there was no hand touching, nothing like that. Literally just generally talking. I think, in all honesty, I think for him, and for a lot of guys, sometimes you're complacent. You just don't realize how good you got it until another man comes into the vicinity and you realize the reality is you oftentimes think that no one can take your girl. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like, you get to a place where you think to yourself, yeah, my girl's not gonna get taken. Or you think to yourself that, you know what, it's a subtle kind of thought behind the head. She ain't never gonna leave me. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, I'm so confident. in that relationship. And that's what creates a safety net for them, right? That knowing that their girl is uber loyal and will never ever leave. And yet we've seen how he has little spurts of, I don't want to say disrespect, but little spurts of these comments that he makes, which he made one before they left. He made one actually last week with a girl when he left as well. He makes this little 1 or 2 comments, which if it was reversed, I'm sure he would have some problems with, right? And he makes those comments because reality is oftentimes there's a deep-seated insecurity. But when you find somebody who's also more insecure than you, who are not ready to be healed and not in their full prowess, they're going to end up staying with you no matter what, because no matter what you offer them, that's the value they feel they deserve. I think, again, for her, if she heals and realizes her value, she'll see that he is not good enough for her. Right. So like even their conversation before they went, when they had a conversation, when she was asking him, so how can I be, how can I listen more? This brother turned it around into making it an issue and saying, I don't want to talk about it by the end. But actually, she was very respectful in how she brought the conversation up. Like, hey, look, how can I, be a better listener for you? And instead of him searching deep within himself to go, what actually happened with the last girl that I was actually listening more? And did it. And again, I want to say this. Look, ladies, I'll be honest with you. These type of men, you need to leave them alone. I'm gonna be real. Don't bother wasting your time with these type of men. Okay, all right. They are lost and they need to stay lost. They don't need your help. Okay, because once they get found, they're gonna leave your ass because they're gonna because that's what you found. You found him in a lost and found. He gonna lose you and find someone else. Right. So these type of men, she's with this guy because yes, he might offer. I mean, he barely even offered the protection aspect, but he's got the rough edge neck kind of feel about him, and it was a complete contrast to the guy who's more of a sweet talker, very nice. I didn't think it was her type at all, but if she does the healing work, she'll realize that she does not need this relationship at all, because he fails to communicate. So I think to myself, men like this, they need to lose in order to gain, to gain sense.
That's true.
So,
that's true. That's true for a lot. That's true. I think that's true for a lot of men and sometimes women now. It's like sometimes you need to lose something to understand what that feels like in order to value good people. And I also think some of us need to do some healing and our type will change. Sometimes our type is based on the fact that we're living in dysfunction. And if you're healed, then you won't even, then someone that you would be attracted to would not be someone that is not ready for a person like yourself. And so I think that's the case. I thought when they were getting ready to leave, when he was treating her that way, I feel like there's a little bit of desperation in her a lot of times. When
yes.
So I feel like he's responding to that, right?
Absolutely.
He don't want to, because he doesn't want to change. He doesn't want to change. He's happy the way he is. Unfortunately, also, ladies, sometimes a man doesn't want to lose you, but he still doesn't want to change. So he's reacting to the fact that you're on a date. He doesn't like that because it's about him. It's never going to be about you. So just because he doesn't want to see you with somebody else doesn't mean that he wants to do the right things by you. And I think a lot of times we respond to the fact that, oh, he's jealous. That means he loves me. And a man will change his actions for a little while, but eventually Zay is really clear about the type of lifestyle that he wants and the effective lifestyle that he enjoys. I think that his reaction to her on the date is really more based around his ego. And I pulled a clip that was funny because he just acted up, which is weird because, like I said, he was being so dismissive of her feelings, but yet when something, infringes on his, he's acting like a child. So this is a clip of Zay when she comes back home with the date. And again, this guy, he's a good looking guy. But I just don't see Jasmine is really going for this type. And maybe she should. Maybe that's something that would happen later on, but it just seems very off. But Zay's behavior is childish to me. Almost reminiscent of Dunbar. Not that bad, but in that same family.
You good?
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Watch your step. Boy.
It's really nice,
being out with the gentleman. Women love being treated nice.
He's such a nice guy.
I try to use my home training. You gotta eat this big ass piece of steak that you left. I enjoyed the date though. I know that's why you didn't eat. We was too busy talking.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Zay, this is Sean. Sean, this is
nice
Zay.
to meet you, man. Sean. Nice to meet you, brother.
Thank you, Sean.
You're welcome.
I
have a good night.
appreciate it. You too.
Guys, have a great night.
All right,
Take care.
you too. So, how was your day?
He was not happy at all.
Just... He said you came here late when you was within the same restaurant. How you end up here at this time? He said,
No, but I think what she said, a woman likes being treated nice. You're not in a relationship where you're being treated nice. You know what I mean? So what?
This is the reality.
What's happening? What's happening? And it's unfortunate that a lot of times women will use a good guy to get at the bad guy.
Yep.
We've all done it.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly. You know, and you know, I think listen, you know, I think in reality the situation with Zay and Jazz, as she just said, you know, a woman likes to be treated nicely. Well, it's because, you know, she's used to having the bare scraps. Mm-hmm. So him offering the bare scraps is enough for her. Mm-hmm. You know, I just saw Ayana went kind of viral on Twitter just today because she said about you're not going to leave a situation unless you hate it enough, unless it's painful enough sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, and the reality is sometimes we need pain in order to change the situation. It's not painful enough for her to realize that, listen, I'm getting scraps. Mm-hmm. I'm being starved here. Mm-hmm. And it's almost as if like that little bit of scraps that you get, you know, you're literally gobbling up, you know, and you're basically doing Oliver Twist. Please, sir, can I have some more? And he's like, no, I'm gonna give you what I want to give you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so she has to check the relationship that she has with herself as to why accepting the bare minimum and below her value is something that she can live with.
Yeah.
Right. And it's because you don't know your value. Yeah. You don't actually know what you're worth. Mm-hmm. And until you get to that place, you will keep on accepting his scraps that he's given. And that's the reason why he can do what he's doing, because he knows you enjoy scraps.
Yeah. Woo.
So, you know what I mean? So he can do whatever he wants because he knows you enjoy scraps. If you enjoy the full good meal, I'm telling you, he would treat you differently.
That's very true. Ooh. And shouts out to the Oliver Twist commentary. I like that. Little Charles Dickens. I like it. Can I have some more, please?
More.
Somebody said, someone's in the comments that, Daphne said that he reminds me of Hollywood with his arrogant self. But that's the thing. I think a lot of times both sides, because it's easy for me to say that about men. But I think when a person comes in and you can tell it's really all about them, right? Yeah. If you're not ready to be in a relationship, if your focus is really about self, and this all was about self, this was about something makes me feel uncomfortable. Now there's a problem. You've been uncomfortable all this time. I don't know. That's her. But when it affects me and when I become uncomfortable, all of a sudden I got to shake the table. Also, you know, there's comments about women not liking good guys anymore. I think that's a direct correlation to how healthy that woman is. And I think on both sides, if a man is attracted to a woman that does not like good guys, there's something in him that is off as well. Like, both sides are dysfunctional. If you constantly find yourself in situations with people that don't appreciate you, you are drawing that to yourself. That's just, there's nothing cute about it. Say, well, you know, good girls like bad boys. Well, women, mature women go after men or are open to men that treat them well. Like, how can I be attracted to someone that doesn't treat me well? That means that there's something wrong with me, right? And it's so, and by the same token, as a man, if you're chasing women who don't value good men, there's something wrong. You need to fix that, right? I remember I was talking to a friend of mine years ago when I first, got to Atlanta, and he had a girl that he was just in love with. She was, very popular. She was a songwriter. A lot of guys were into her, and she broke things off with him because he didn't have enough money for her. And he said to me, he said, I've got to get enough money so I can go back and get her. And I was like, do you realize how ridiculous that sounds? You want to get enough money so you can go and get someone whose value system is based on money over character. So that means that the next time, even no matter how much money you get, there will always be a man with more money.
Someone bigger. Yep.
Always. So as opposed to saying, let me get myself together, let me get my money up so I can get an amazing woman that I deserve. You want to go throw money at a woman who really doesn't care about you anyway. So that means, so in that sense, I told him, I don't feel sorry for you. If she dogs you out again, that's on you because you have ran after that. And I think that's the situation on both sides. When women are looking for a man that gets a lot of attention and is I don't know what exactly she's attracted to with Zay, but what it is it's not qualities that are definitely not husband qualities. There's nothing in him that has presented himself as a husband. He is out drinking, not making sure that she's okay, not really caring about what hurts her. Those are why would you want that man to put a ring on your finger? You're going to sign up for a lifetime of unhappiness. If it's like this and you guys are not even married, imagine what years and years of familiarity will do. Imagine. So I think that, and I hear that all the time. Well, girls don't like good guys. I always say, well, question, what kind of women are you going after? And in the same, if you feel like all guys like bad bitches, well, maybe it's something wrong with the guys you're going after, because if you're looking for husbands are not looking for bad bitches, and bad bitches are not looking for husbands. So if you find yourself interacting with a man chasing a bad bitch or a guy that is I don't know what the equivalent of I guess a F boy, then it's probably something wrong with your picker and you have to do some work there. So I think, yes, I think Zay could be a problem. Ed says, can we see Zay at a PTA meeting? Hell no. Hell no. I didn't even see him at a couple. I mean, he's barely doing couples therapy, in the right way, barely. So no, I don't think he's
barely
her anything that would suggest he's ready to be a husband and a father. She wants these things and she's trying to apply them to somebody that's not their nature. And so that's unfortunate. So I hope that this process shows them the inconsistencies, but I have a feeling that because Zay feels threatened for the first time, he's going to fight to keep himself in place, but that doesn't mean that his actions are going to change.
Yeah. He's just doing it so he doesn't lose his safety net.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense.
Absolutely. So, all right, we got to get to Joya and Jaisha because there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to unpack here. There's lots to unpack here with this date. So I'm going to play this clip and I'm going to let you do your thing because I'm just like, I'm trying to figure out, and I said this last week with Sean, with this guy, why? Because, when you come on the show as a dater of someone in a relationship, it seems like, especially the guys come in and it's ego driven, right? I'm going to make them, even before they see the girl, even before they know the problems, it's all about, I'm going to pull his girl, right?
Yeah.
Now, in this situation, this guy, they went on a date last week. I could tell it was just all about, oh, well, I used to take girls from their guys and all that. And we saw that Jaisha actually questioned Joya's sensibility because she's open to go out with a guy that told her that it was a sport for him to take girls from their boyfriends. I just sport fish and catch them and then throw them back because he definitely wasn't keeping them. But he said that was something that he enjoyed doing. So Jaisha questioned her reasoning for going back out again. Well, if F around and find out was a person.
Oh, find out indeed, baby.
She found out. Let's watch this clip and then let's try to unpack what the hell happened at the gym.
Well, I'm on a second date with you in this moment.
Realistically, yeah, we can have some fun.
But taking it serious.
It's like taking it seriously is just hard because I don't have to settle. I've done certain things in my life to put me at a certain echelon, to date a certain top tier. Not saying a woman with a child isn't top tier, but like standards wise, it's like I like to travel and be like, yo, let's go. Let's go to Miami, let's do this, let's do that. And it's like, let me call my mom and see if she can watch the kid. It's just no real benefit in it for me.
Why did he come on this show? What?
You know what? He killed himself with this chat. I will say it's delivered poorly, but there is realms of truth in this.
Oh,
right? Yes, it's sad, but I'm not gonna say it's sad. It's economics of dating world, right?
economics of
when
like that.
it's economics of dating world. When you go into dating pool, right? And
You should do a
you
book
want
called
to choose a
that.
person.
You should
Well,
call The Economics of Dating. That is a title.
could be a bestseller, right? But honestly, yeah, the economics of dating, and again, when you said Kevin Samuels, it is part of the Kevin Samuels conversation, but it generally is a thing that comes across as men, right? The more you have in terms of resources, right? The more status or power or wealth you have, the more access you have to women, right? And therefore, you're going to try and pick the best out of the bunch. Now, this being delivered the way he delivered it, especially to the person who he delivered it to, was poor economics. Okay. I mean, this is poor because you didn't realize what market you were talking to, right? If you had realized that, and I'm not sure if he actually knew she had a kid or not, I'm sure he did.
He did.
Then, so that again, this shows you the way he delivered it, that there's a lack of ability to be able to discern how to deliver a message, right? There's a lack of ability to know how to communicate. And in that case, you're probably going to see some more disrespectful behavior. But he already showed that disrespectful behavior on the first date. So really and truly, right? Our good sister Joya, all right, she actually lapped up the disrespectful behavior on the first date because it provided her with the ammunition that she needed in order to shoot her partner with. Now, the problem we have in here is, yes, he's shown his tail, and I'll address that in a second or two, right? Yes, he showed his tail, but he should have never had a second date. But because she wanted to prove a point and she wanted to get at her man because her focus is all wrong. She's trying to prove something that doesn't need to be proven, right? This is why he had a second date. Now, what he said, I'm going to put it this way, right? If you could have the choice of having the same man, but without a child, which one would you choose? Ideally.
Okay. I the same. If you could have the same man, but without a child, obviously, if you don't have any children, you're gonna choose a man without a child.
There you go, and vice versa, right? Because the ideal option is that, and that's what he was talking about. It's just delivered really poorly. But the reality of the life is, if you put yourself, if you have two people, the same people, right? It's almost like the same question. If one was rich, one was broke, and they were the same person, which one would you choose? No one's choosing the broke one. I don't think anyone's choosing the broke one.
But Kojo, there's no such thing as the same person, right? And so I guess what bothers me about this, and you're right, is sexual marketplace value that Kevin Samuels talked about a lot. And I know a lot of men were like, women are not taking this into consideration. But the reality is we're talking about people. So when it comes, people are not numbers. So you can have numbers that are the same and you'll have the same result every time. 3 + 4 is always going to be 7. But when it comes to people, there's no such thing as the same. And so I can meet two guys. One is, very, very well off financially, and another one is not. But if there's something about me that connects with that guy that has the least amount of money, even though I may not make that decision, because a lot of times we are not making decisions for long-term relationships based on things that are logical or things that are emotional. We're basing it on logic a lot of times. So a lot of people would pick that, but that doesn't mean that that's where your heart's going to go. So I think that there are men that his delivery was trash because, number one, I feel like he was trying to be an asshole because he knew that she had a child. He also knew that he was being filmed, and this was something that was, he basically embarrassed her because he said, he humiliated her. He said, we could hang out and have some fun, but it could never be anything long-term because I don't have to be with anyone that's not upper echelon. That's hateful. It was a hateful statement. But even when we're talking about just the economics of it, that would be, if that was, if people were numbers, it would be perfect because we would get exactly what we want. There'd be a formula that we could just put the person in. But the reality is that's not always the case. Sometimes a person that you really have a lot in common with and you guys have a chemistry, that person may have a child, even though you don't want one. Now, several children may be different. I mean, it just kind of depends, but people that are not open to dating people that don't fit their rigid lines may not find themselves finding love. Now, I don't know if that's always important. Or what everybody is looking for. I've heard a lot of men say, I don't want to date a woman with children. And that's fine. To me, why are you even dating? If you don't want to be with a woman with children, why are you just want to enjoy their bodies, but you don't want to be with them? You shouldn't even be dating. But there's also responsibility to the women when you hear a statement like that. And this is a great example of why you need to acknowledge red flags, men and women. When someone says something to you that turns that red flickering light on, pay attention, because when you turn away from it, it's going to come again. And this time it's going to be more disrespectful, and it's going to get more disrespectful. The fact that he told her that he liked to take women from their guys, that was fun to him, that was a sign of his character. She wanted to go out with him because he's a good looking guy, right? He's got a big chain on. But guess what happened? You play with it again, he's showing you more of his character. I don't have to be with somebody like you. I can have fun with you. I can lay down with you, but I can do more because I have money and and the money is kind of questionable since he mentioned traveling to Miami. Not abroad, like going to Miami, Atlanta. That's $100 ticket, but bless his heart. His whole energy was really arrogant and disrespectful, but she signed up for it. And I just feel bad for her because Jaisha surely gonna be like, because he looked at her like, why would you go out with someone like that? So I'm sure it's gonna be like, and I told you so.
I told you so. I told you so.
I told you so. But and I also would
wanted to play.
Do you think that will make him question her? Like,
I think so. I mean, listen, if I'm watching it back, I'm questioning it. You know what I mean? If I'm watching the show back, I'm definitely questioning it, that you are so intent on trying to make me jealous. Like, it seems every day. What kind of level of insecurity do you have that you want to keep trying to make me unstable? Right. You know what I mean? Like, right. Why do you want me to not be stable in a relationship and want me to be showing an over emotional response to the situation? You know, so that for me is a problem right there, right? You came, and we saw this in the very first date. We saw this when she came and started telling information about he kissed my hand, he did this, and she's been trying to drag him out of position for a very long time. If actually it's a bigger red flag than we're making it out to be, because this is somebody who's going to want affirmation and was willing to use someone else to do it on a consistent basis. You're going to find out it's the exact same thing that's going to happen. If you marry this woman, you're going to find out. I mean, you'll surely find out even when you're dating, right? So this show is just exposing her insecurity and her not feeling safe, and what she does when she doesn't feel safe. So when she doesn't feel safe, what she does, she has to guarantee your love by getting somebody else involved to try and make you feel jealous, to make you get closer again. The reality is that doesn't last long. It creates many problems, long-term and short-term. It's actually a very dangerous game to play. And, like you said, play dumb games, get dumb prizes, right? So in a situation, and if you listen to her cutscene talk, and of course they might have edited it, she was only concerned. Look, she was like, at the point when he had messed up, he's like, well, no, he's having fun now, and he's not even looking over to see what's happening with me now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm enjoying my date, you know what I mean? And so everything centers around trying to get him to cling on to her. And that is somebody who's willing to control. And at that point in time, they are going to create chaos in the relationship in the long term. Yeah. He gonna find out the hard way. So she needs to really sort that out. It's still a measure of control. She's still controlling, even though she said that she's learning, she's still controlling in this moment.
Yeah. Yikes.
Subtly.
If playing yourself was a person, that was a huge example of how women can play themselves. Like, you trying to use someone to make your man jealous, and that person is using you, or just doesn't even see value in you at all. Like, he doesn't see that value. And I think that's one of the problems with looking outside of yourself for validation, right? I was telling a girlfriend the other day, well, actually, no, I was telling Natasha from Ready to Love. very interesting conversation with her. And I was saying to her, you have to be who you are. Because if you are looking for validation, some men are going to see you and see you as a wife. Some men are going to see you as a jump off. Some men are going to see you as, somebody that they would want to be their friend. If you allow every man that you're with to define you, you're not going to have any idea who you are, because every man is going to see you as something different, right? I don't believe there's any woman across the board that every man would marry. Beyonce is beautiful as I don't know what. I don't think every man would want to marry Beyonce. So you have to know who you are. And then you have to deal with people that see you as you want to be seen. So if you are looking for someone to marry, then you should only be interacting with men that treat you the way you want to be seen. And if you meet someone that doesn't treat you that way, then you have no business being with them. If I'm a queen, then I don't accept being treated like a jester. If you treat me like a jester, you have to get out of my palace. I definitely don't give you access to me like that. And it really it really has everything to do with knowing who you are without external validation, because that's never going to be consistent. Right. So I think in this situation, Joya is not really, if she knew who she was, then she would not need to be using other men to make Jaisha jealous. It would all be about, you know what? You're not treating me the way I want to be treated. This relationship is not moving the way I see it. I need to move. And so I need to go. It's not about using other things to hurt, because that's manipulative. And it also suggests that your self-esteem is not where it needs to be, right? Because you're using something else. And so I think this is a great example, a great case study. That's what makes this show great, because you get a chance to see things in real time. You are wanting someone because they're attractive. I think that, this guy had the stereotypical external that women would find attractive, tall, works out all the time. He's very invested in himself. Trying to use him to validate you, major fail, and also men can sense when you don't know who you are, and then they will assign their own value to you, And so I think that this is just something that we can all learn from. I don't know what Jaisha is going to do with that, because I feel like that's a huge red flag for him, more so even than this is for her. I think Jaisha actually cares about her. I think he's probably the most prepared to be in a real relationship out of all three couples. I don't necessarily think he's ready to get married right now. But I think if you watch the way he's very perceptive, he watches, he's not disrespectful with the way he interacts. Even his date was very over the top. I mean, his date was doing the most. She was putting the 10 on the 2, turning around so the camera could get all shots of her in her workout outfit. And she's got a nice body, but this is Atlanta. Everybody here has a nice body. That's nothing that the camera's not used to seeing. But she was doing everything she could to throw him off, and he remained a gentleman. He remained in control. He's been respectful of Joya. But I also think he pays attention a lot to what is going on. And that is what makes me feel like he's more mature than we're seeing him. He's able to articulate what it is about Joya that he likes, but he also is very, very sure about what he wants. And at this point in time, where she wants to go is not necessarily where she wants to go. Edna says the guy was rude to Jaisha. That was just all ego and immaturity.
Yeah.
Like, it was really, really lame to me. And that, to me,
It
as a
was
woman,
mad ego.
yeah, I would not have liked that. He was doing way too much.
Too much.
Did he make a comment about her going out with a taller guy when he first came to pick her up last week?
He did. Yeah. And she enjoyed it at first.
That's a problem as well.
That's the point, right? When he was, doing those things, you was enjoying. But when you weren't in control of him no more, and he's doing whatever he wants to do, now it works against you. Now it's like, oh, what's going on? Yeah, because again, it was down to you having the ability to use him for what you wanted to use him for. And he said, listen, you're not going to play me. I'm going to use you for what I want to use you for too. Unfortunately, he got the last laugh in the end. You know what I mean? So, yeah, he definitely was sounding the alarm bells when he was trying to poke at Jaisha as well. Yeah. He had a little comment about, with your girl, and you know what I mean, she's with me. You know what I mean? How do you feel?
I can feel you. He was like, I can feel you. He's like, you can't feel me. I'm with your girl. I can feel her. And that had nothing to do with with Joya. It was all about him
No.
and Jaisha. And Jaisha's a nice looking guy. I actually think he's a better looking guy than this guy. But he was intimidated by Jaisha to me, because you don't have to do all that if you're really confident. Confidence doesn't come with all that, fake bravado.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said he supposedly does skits with Country Wayne, so he was just there for airtime. Maybe, but he still, to me, he made himself look like an ass. So,
Yeah, for real. I should have chose a different route. Should have been funny.
Right. That would have been a better, even if he had said what he said, but made it a funny thing. I think it would have came across better. But he just looks like an ass that is talking about luxury vacations to Miami.
It's not looking good, bruv. As I say, it's not looking good.
Well, it's an interesting episode. I never liked this episode, but at least there weren't like the plate gate that we had last year with Shay and Alfonso at the hibachi restaurant, with the date throwing dishes and trying to fight. At least everybody carried themselves with a little decorum. I didn't think we could take another one of those, so that was a good thing. The dates were anticlimactic. It just, I think, was very telling on where the couples are. What are your predictions for the aftermath of these dates next week?
Ooh, listen. I mean, from what we saw and what we gathered, so for the couples, I think there's going to be more work that Dr. Stace is going to have to do with Zay. We're going to really have to unpack, his ability to communicate. Yeah. There's gonna be a need to have more conversations with him about why he struggles to open up with Jazz, and is unable to communicate with her on just a basic level. I think that'll be one of the things you have to explore. I think with Catherine and Ricky, both of these people have problems in terms of her wanting more affection, but the way she's going about it to receive it. Yeah. And then talking about Ricky as well, in terms of not being true and honest about actually how he feels and how that's affecting the relationship. And then we got obviously Jaisha and Joya. Look, man, I think they could make a great couple because the chemistry is real. Yeah. But if they don't pay attention to the fact that at this point in time, like, Joya keeps trying to drag another guy to make him jealous, we're gonna see some fireworks in these two in the end as well. So I definitely think like they've all got potential to make it work if they put the work in. It's just, I personally just think Joya and Jaisha probably got the best chances. The other two, there's chance, but it's not much of a chance, it feels like. But I mean, we heard someone got a ring, so, but that doesn't mean that your relationship's great. So
no, it does not mean it. It just, I think with all these couples on all these shows, you just gotta wait on it. Wait on it. Wait for it. As Cat Williams says, wait for it, because a lot of times the motivation to get the ring or to couple up is because of the opportunity to do more interviews. Unfortunately, and to get more opportunity, you have to kind of wait for the dust to settle to see if that's going to work. And also, like, issues don't disappear. Either you work on them and you address them, or you don't. And they don't go anywhere. So, like, to me, I feel like Ricky and Catherine is the most dysfunctional relationship. I think if they did get engaged, that's unfortunate, because after the show goes off, after the blogs are finished talking about you and you're no longer a trending topic, you still have to deal with the fact that there are so many issues that we didn't just imagine. These are issues that are really there in the relationship. And so if you push past that and get caught up in the excitement, of being on television and wanting something to work to prove everyone wrong, that can have really bad after effects later on down the line. So I would hope they do the work and don't rush to the altar. Zay and what's her name? Jasmine. I mean, I think that my intuition says that because Zay is feeling threatened for the first time and he doesn't like that, he's going to probably start to work overtime to win her over all the way, right? But again, you don't know how that's going to end, because if it's ego driven, it won't last. If he really is learning a lesson, it will. But it seems just from his reactions, he just doesn't like being threatened, right? He doesn't like his territory being walked on. Now, if he wants to walk outside of his borders, that's fine, but she's not supposed to do that. And so again, if the behavior isn't, if you don't figure out what's causing that behavior and do that work to fix that, it's not going to work. Joya and Jaisha, and I really feel like they have the most chance because I feel like the man has to be mature in order to move to marriage. Women do too, but I feel like, just from my opinion, the man is the head. So if you have an immature head, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. There's no way it can work. If the leader is not ready to lead, we're not going to, our destination is not going to be reached. You know what I mean? It's just not. So I feel like the man in the relationship needs to be in a place of maturity and be ready for marriage in order for the marriage to work. I feel like sometimes a woman may not be as ready, but if he is and he sets a good example, he's a great leader, I think that can work. You can have a company that the workers are not necessarily great, but they have a great leader, and that great leader can inspire, and they follow that lead. But if you are following the lead of someone that doesn't know where they're going, you are inevitably going to crash and burn. And so without sounding sexist, I know a lot of women will not agree with that. I do feel like if you believe in a man being the head and the leader of the family, then that person has the burden of being the most responsible, being the most ready, being the most mature, because they're leading the dynamic of the relationship. And so in this show, the only person I see that I would even believe could understand really the brevity of marriage would be Jaisha. And that's just from what we see, right? But he's the only one that it makes any kind of sense. Ricky, I don't feel like needs to be anyone's husband anytime soon. He needs to take care of Ricky. And Zay is almost like the same version, just a more of a player, successful version, but he's really not mature. He's really like into hanging out and doing him, you know what I mean? And everything that serves me is fine. But if you want a real marriage, you really need a man that's in a position and wants to be in that position, is ready to take on that responsibility. So I'm a little concerned about all three couples, honestly.
It's not looking good, bruv.
Not looking good. It never does. It never does. Let me ask you this question really close. I know we're at our time, but what do you think about, because that came up in my conversation with earlier with Marcia about, I think there's an issue with the type of person that wants to share their relationship on TV. And I'm not being, I don't mean to throw shade, because I think, it's becoming very commonplace. A lot of people are on television doing everything. But I feel like as a woman, you would need to be a little concerned about a man that is looking for TV time, because I don't necessarily know that those are good. That makes good qualities for a relationship. I'm not saying it can't work, but if the motivation is to get fame and to get attention, that could be, to me, that's a red flag. I don't want a TV guy. I don't want that. But I could be wrong. I could be being
no,
biased.
I mean, no. I mean, I definitely agree with that. I mean, it sets a precedence of not really where you can't really trust a person if they really want you or whether they want the fame. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I personally, it's a difficult slope to go down, because again, people can get addicted to the limelight. People can get addicted to the fame. People can get addicted to the attention. You know what I mean? And so, an innocent ploy that started off as, let's go on a show and just kind of like, sort out our issues, can now become suddenly access to, wealth, fame, power, sex, opposite sex, whatever, attention. Yeah, it's difficult because you can't trust their narrative.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it puts that seed of doubt in the mind. So you just need to make sure you got a strong relationship before you go on the internet or go on a TV before you get to that stage. And even then, there's no guarantee, because you're allowing other voices to contribute towards your relationship, and that's the big difficulty there.
Yeah. And I think that's probably true for both. If it's a woman that likes a lot of attention online, or she wants to be, if her goal is to be a reality star, I don't know if those are the building blocks of, a substantial healthy relationship. Now it could be one that's made for TV, but something that's made for TV is not usually something that's going to be substantial, because TV ratings change, and you need to be more and more salacious so you can get more attention. And so if you're willing to put your relationship through the ringer to constantly be ready for TV, that could be a problem. D says, I don't believe anybody is in Ricky's DM. Child, you'd be surprised.
Five.
Surprised. You'd be surprised. There are
People be entering, you don't even know.
there are serial killers with DMs blowing up. So I think that anybody that's on television has an audience, I don't know, but I appreciate my co-host from across the pond. I love doing these recaps. We have so much fun doing it, just breaking it down. I thank all of you for listening. If you guys are watching this, please make sure that you like this conversation, and make sure that you're subscribed to both of our channels, from Christal XO and of course Little Black Book number 191. I'm sorry, so that you can hear all the amazing commentary that both of us put out. Kojo is a whole relationship expert. I think we should do like have like a live therapy session. That would be fun with me and my husband. Do that. That would be fun. That'd be fun.
I'll be down.
Yeah, everybody needs therapy. Everybody needs conversation, and I definitely would be willing to do that. But definitely check in with us next week. We're going to be right back here next Thursday, same time, same place, to talk about put a ring on it. Now, we should be nearing the end. We should be at a place where there's going to be some do or dies. Dr. Stacy's going to challenge. I'm looking forward to seeing her challenge, especially Ricky. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I like her commentary, but I'm definitely looking forward to there being like, okay, put up or shut up. Where are we at?
Mm-hmm. Ring or no ring?
Ring or no ring? Do you suggest us getting a ring, or do you suggest us going back for more? So we'll see. We'll see what happens next week.
Mm-hmm. We don't suggest that.
Well, have a great weekend. I will let you know if I will let you know if I go see Janet Jackson. I will send pictures. Okay.
Say hello to Janet for me if you get to see her. I know you like to get backstage passes, so just in case.
I will tell you. Have a good one.
Appreciate you.
All right. Bye-bye. Thanks, guys, for watching. See y'all next week.